This video is sponsored by Bityard. With over 400 cryptocurrencies to choose from on their spot exchange, dozens of USDT pairs for futures trading, perpetual coin futures, trade commodities like gold, silver and oil, Forex, and major indices like Nasdaq. You can buy crypto from Bityard with over 50 different fiat currencies using Visa, MasterCard, Google or Apple Pay. If you like, you can use their copy trade facility, follow other traders who will execute trades on your behalf, or become a copy trader yourself. So if you want a bit of that, click the link in the description. Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Just focusing on Bitcoin this time, nothing else. We're doing the live stream tonight for Patreon members, and the last one we did on Tuesday, we were talking about how basically everything's looking pretty hot, pretty overheated, and that would have been what, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Seems like we got that one right. So at the end of the day, it's a requirement to pull back at this stage. We've been saying this since even up until the weekend, how the money flow index has been quite high on Bitcoin, and historically, we recognise that, to be honest, there's only been 8 periods in Bitcoin's Binance chart, which goes back several years, to 2017, where we've actually been this high. So we were talking about the need for psychiatric help for those who buy money flow indexes of that size, especially when it comes to altcoins. And we were talking about the very realistic possibility of a decent pullback, but still being in the context of the greater uptrend, which is still the case. We monitored this money flow index, not the money flow index, the Chiku span, just skimming the top of these candle bodies, basically with this buy signal still in play, provided we don't touch any price action with this Chiku span. And that's why we were wanting to have a dump, in sort of like midweek, really. If we were to have a grander pullback into the midweek, we'd still have this big gap here to be able to meander through and move out the top. But even so, at the moment, we're still in play. This buy signal is still in play. I have no real particular issues with it. That said, though, we've had a nice pullback from this 200 simple moving average, which is where we're at now, and down to wick is about 8%, almost 8.5%. It's not really a big deal. It's not really a big deal at all. We managed to stay above this 44,000 ever so slightly, but look, at the end of the day, money flow index is still relatively high. It needs a cooling off period. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we had a decent bounce today, maybe even one of those bounces which brings us all the way back up to the top and then finally comes back down again. I'm not looking to play this range. From a spot trader's perspective, this range was bought ages ago. I added to altcoin positions, was it Friday or Saturday? Some of those shitcoin positions anyway. And I said, look, it's a hopeful risk that I'm looking to take place, but and for the most part, it's worked out. So what we're looking for now, I suppose, is a consolidation, to be honest with you, and a healthy one, to be honest. And so long as we don't go down lower than 42,000, everything will be just fine, right? The chances are we do come down a little lower, maybe not today, perhaps over the weekend or into next week, and we'll be touching this centre of this Bollinger Band on the daily. So at the moment, there's about 43,200, give or take, and that's where I'll be looking for a decent retest or a bounce of that. Now, if we were super bullish, we'd bounce on the 21, which is a little higher. It's 43,700 at the moment. These are all trending up, which is good. This is what you want to see in an uptrend. You want to see all moving averages facing up, which is good, and that's what we want to see. But there is criteria to obviously invalidate any kind of upside. Obviously, the Chiku span touching price action would be one of them, and certain particular levels of support on a weekly would be another thing, and we're dancing around on that particular zone right now. So that comes in exactly where the bounce is, right? This is a weekly, so we're looking for weekly closures, not for wicks, for closures. And so we come down for a retest of these zones now. So the 21 exponential, or you can call it the 20 simple moving average, basically the centre of the Bollinger Band on the weekly, it is the line in the sand. We always talk about this. This is why everyone was getting so excited, and we were looking for, I suppose, continuation on the long term, provided we stay above that. But until we get a curvature on the 20 weekly, which is not going to happen for weeks, it's very unlikely to happen even throughout April. We're probably looking to go sideways by April and then start to move up, which would then be in the context of a much bigger trend and a continuation of that. While going down, it's effectively a support, and with that support moving down each time, it does add to lower prices. So next week, this Bollinger Band Center will actually offer a lower support than it does this week, and maybe even the week after that before it actually goes horizontal and starts to turn up. So we've come down for a retest of those zones on the weekly. It's no surprise that we've done that. Really, honestly, it's really no surprise. And this is what we were talking about on the live stream on Tuesday. Everything's pretty hot. Feel free to take some profit. The grand picture is that we're looking at an uptrend still, but entry points, anytime before Sunday's breakout, anytime after Sunday's breakout, was a little risky and has now proven to be risky. And like I say, we are bouncing at this particular level. The correlation being on the on the weekly term time frame, we can sustain a little bit lower than that, so long as we don't start closing below that 20 weekly, which effectively is basically this bouncy zone here, just above or just below 44,200, give or take, that kind of area. So with altcoins, they're unlikely to take on much of a life of their own at this stage. The market generally trended as one, and this was what I've been saying the entire time. So look, when it comes to those shitcoins that we were buying over the weekend, I said, look, if we do break out, these are gonna have a great time, because the order books are so thin right now that any money that comes into that after yours is going to create big green candles. Those generally happened across the board. We saw some really big moves on the shitcoins there, but we're under no illusion that Bitcoin is going to pave the way for whatever an altcoin generally does. Ethereum plays a big role in that, but you could argue that Ethereum is joined at the hip with Bitcoin and is basically emphasizing Bitcoin's move. So really, it is all about Bitcoin pretty much across the board. Bitcoin is the market right now. But if Bitcoin is the market, we still have a buying signal. We are still in play. We are just pulling back from an obvious area and an overheated money flow index. We spoke about the open interest yesterday, about how, look, it doesn't necessarily predict tops. There's no horizontal relevance to it. We measured out from previous moves that we've so far gone up just short of 50%, but in the past we've gone up 75 to over 100% before a greater pullback. Now, all of this is just one way to try and navigate through these markets, but my main preference is always the one of the price and the chart and the relationship to moving averages plus the Ichimoku cloud. And as far as I'm concerned, this is still a decent position for Bitcoin to be in, much better than it's been in a long time. We've reclaimed that zone, although coming down to retest it, you could argue that that's a bull's dream to have a retest of the 20 weekly. So this could be it. I find it relatively unlikely that this is actually it. This could just be a bounce for today. Looking for a closure of the week, that'll be relevant for like a CME chart, but spot will continue. The weekly closure is one thing. Next week, like I say, the Bollinger Band Center, that 20 weekly will be a little further down, so we can sustain a little further drop. So long as we're not closing below this last week on a weekly basis, we should be okay. So, like I say, it's worked out as we expected, exactly as I expected. And so we should just allow for the chart to do its thing. It should, if we want to be really bullish, we should want it to basically consolidate, allowing for everything to reset to a comfortable level to then go to the next stage up. And I think that's what we're looking for at this point now. But when it comes to a minute to minute, hour to hour, second, anything is really possible. We really are looking at this on a daily and on a weekly for the much bigger continuation. But if we do start to see much lower, especially 42,000, then I'll call this particular level a failed breakout, and altcoins will be absolutely wrecked. And we will be looking for this area to break and probably go down further. So we'll just have to wait and see. But for the moment, as of this very moment in time, there's really nothing to be concerned about. I think whatever this trend does, if it continues with its uptrend, or if it breaks down, it's going to take a couple of weeks before we know. Right, I'm going to leave it with you there. But thank you for watching, guys. Hope you have a nice day. Join the Patreon and take it easy.